Hello, everybody. It is the final giveaway of our E3 extravaganza, and today we are giving away a copy of The Last of Us for PlayStation 4, and that was provided by the Workprint, so make sure to check out their website. I've got my wonderful wife here with me again.
Hi.
And we put all the names of all the entries from Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Just a reminder how that worked. If you shared our post on the Facebook page, that counted as an entry. If you retweeted our contest post on Twitter, each one of those counted as an entry. And then, of course, if you +1'd it on Google, that counted as an entry as well. So like I said, we took all those names, printed them off, cut them up, put them in a hat, and we're going to mix them up and see what we get. Okay, that should be good. Okay, what do we got?
Anthony Cantu.
Okay, well, there we go. You are our winner of The Last of Us for PlayStation 4. Okay, congratulations, sir. And like I said before, that is provided by the Workprint, so make sure to check that out. And with that, we are going on with the show. And make sure to stick around because in this episode, we actually interview Trent Steen from Secret Tunnel Entertainment about Shapes of Grey, so make sure to check that out. With that, on with the show. Hey guys, and welcome to the show. This is episode 14 of the Life of Gaming podcast. My name is Jamie, and I'm your captain on this cruise of video game awesomeness. And you all know my co-host, the Luigi to my Mario, Mr. Josh Brandt.
I see what you're doing there.
That's
Mario
right.
Maker.
Gotta
get that reference.
That's right. With E3 just happening, I'm thinking I gotta grab some video game duos. I'm thinking, who's a video game duo? That looks great.
Man, what an awesome week!
Oh, dude, it's been
love
crazy.
E3.
So, and you guys all know he was on our videos with us. He's been doing our Let's Plays. My brother-in-law, the Toad of our group, if you will.
I knew you were going to go Toad. I knew it.
That's terrible.
And what's sad is I'm the tallest of all of us.
Hey,
True.
it works perfectly fine.
I'm just glad you didn't say Princess Peach.
What, would you rather be Wario?
Waluigi?
Or Waluigi?
Waluigi,
Yeah,
there we
Waluigi's
go.
tall. Oh, man, dude. This week has been crazy because if you guys haven't been watching our YouTube channel, hop on there. We actually did a live reaction show. We've actually cut that into pieces, and we put those up on our YouTube page. So we've got reactions for every conference. We've got 6 videos up. We actually did EA and EA and Ubisoft in one video on our YouTube channel. But people are enjoying them. We're getting a lot of really good feedback on that. So hopefully you guys are enjoying those videos.
Yeah, you can tell we were burnt out by Square Enix, but most of them we enjoyed.
Yeah, that last day, Brant had to work, so he's a bum.
Yeah, missing out.
Yeah, shame I had to make money for my family.
Oh, man. So, I mean, outside of the gaming stuff, Brant, what have you been up to this week, man?
Oh, no, not much, man. I'm just still recovering from that E3 madness. I haven't really played many games at all. I've just been watching some more demos, and it's pretty cool. Some of the games they didn't show on the show floor, they have demos up, and I've been checking those out. Some cool stuff's coming out.
Awesome. Do you have any big plans for, Father's Day, being a father and all? Do you have any big plans for the weekend?
We're going to some big Chinese buffet thing tomorrow, which I can't wait for. This is like authentic Chinese food, so
nothing
the
says
high
Father's
quality
Day
stuff.
like going to a Chinese buffet.
Then we're going to Coney Island next week. So
Oh, that'll be
I'm
nice.
pumped
I mean,
about that.
That's pretty close too, isn't it?
Yep,
Awesome.
right in Cincinnati.
It's much smaller than Kings Island, though, right?
Yeah, less expensive too.
Right. That's true. That's good for the family man on a budget, right?
Yes.
Well, Matt, what about you, man? What have you been up to?
I mean, a lot of E3 stuff, but also trying to get unpacked from my honeymoon, which was last week. was down in Walt Disney World, which is why I wasn't on episode last week.
Hopefully you had a good
Nice.
time. Any exciting stories to share?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Lots
It was
of-
your honeymoon. You're like, eh.
I mean,
Nothing
it was a great
happened.
time. I'm trying to think of something to actually share, but a lot
Something
of cool
that's not
rides
too
are like,
personal, right?
yeah. They definitely upgraded a lot of things. They've actually made the waiting lines kind of like a ride, which
Yeah.
is really, really super cool. But yeah, I don't know, just trying to get unpacked from that and playing a lot of games this week and also trying to catch up on some videos and stuff from E3. Yeah, it's been busy. It's been busy.
Yeah, I know you picked up that Earthbound Beginnings, right? Are you enjoying that?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's I played through Earthbound once before and loved it. It's a lot simpler, and it's weird because like in Earthbound Beginnings, or sorry, in regular Earthbound, the enemies are like on the screen. You can see them, and then when they fly into you, that's when you go into a turn-based battle. In this one, it's like you just randomly are walking in the world. It's almost like Pokemon,
Oh, okay.
being in the grass in Pokemon, to where like just at random times the screen will flash and you'll start a battle. Except it's like anywhere in the world map. So I think there except for the cities and stuff. But it's different. It's simpler, but it's really cool. Same basic Earthbound feel. It's pretty awesome, actually. Definitely pick it up if you're an Earthbound fan.
Huh, that's really cool. Well, guys, normally right now we jump into our news section, but we're going to do things a little bit different today because all the news has been going on, all week with all this E3 stuff, and we covered it in all 6 of those videos. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Now that we've had time to sort of digest and sleep on it and all that stuff that's going on at E3, we're going to talk about, what was like the 1 or 2 moments that really stood out to us about E3, because I know during the show or videos we kind of rated each conference, but that was, right at the show as it happened in the moment, and now we've kind of had time to think about it. So we're going to talk about that. Also in this episode, we're going to put later on in the show, we're actually talking with Trent Steen from Secret Tunnel Entertainment. He is the creator of a game called Shapes of Grey. That is on the Wii U, and it actually just came out on PC today, a new updated version. But we'll actually let him tell you about that a little later in the show. But
Awesome.
But yeah, that was the highlight of E3, just being able to play that.
that game is such a
Honestly.
blast. well, real quick, guys, I guess we're going to hop into our topic of the week. So, guys, now that E3, it's come, it's gone. We've had a few days to rest and sort of to sit on it and think about it. I guess E3 overall in general, do you think it was a good year? I mean, do you think we had a strong E3 year? Brant, what do you think, man?
For me, I remember being slightly underwhelmed last year,
Uh-huh.
and with all the boom announcements that happened during this year, I thought it was really awesome. Like, it was like bringing you back to the past when like these 10-year-old games in developmental hell weren't going nowhere, and you hear about Final Fantasy VII, and then The Last Guardian, and then Shenmue 3. I mean, it was just
Oh, my
bam,
goodness.
bam. That was really awesome. And then, I mean, there were some big announcements from like backwards compatibility and just things you didn't really expect either.
Right. And just so you guys know, if you haven't watched the video, we all know Brant is the big PlayStation guy on this show. And
have a
when
slight
when
bias
that
towards
Final Fantasy thing happened, Brant stood up, pointed at us, and he said, "In your stupid Microsoft faces, I'm going to rub this in
My
your
inner
faces."
fanboy didn't come out at all there.
And then
course.
at the end of the trailer, it said first on. It wasn't even exclusive. It was,
Yeah,
it was
I was
very
like, "Are
funny.
you kidding me?" Aw.
He takes so much pride when he loves to wave that PlayStation banner high.
Yes.
Well, Matt, what about you, man? What do you think of this year's show overall?
Oh, I mean, it was. I think it ended better. Like there was some really great reveals, and having a I got an Xbox. I've always been a big Xbox guy. They have a lot of great games coming out in the immediate future. This is probably their best year, even in comparison. Like this holiday season, there's a lot of great stuff. Nintendo kind of underwhelmed me though, and even in retrospect, there's some games I'm really liking more than I did initially, but they were still pretty underwhelming. And Sony had some really great reveals, but I don't have a Sony system, so.
Sure. Okay. But I felt like this year, it was a great show. I mean, they like Brant said, there's a lot of things they reveal for the future. There's a lot of things to reveal for now. So, I mean, it was a very good, like, if you own multiple systems, this year was awesome. Because, I mean, besides Nintendo stuff, if you look at Sony, Microsoft, EA, all of those, like 90% or more of that is coming everywhere anyway. So if you love video games, it didn't matter what conference you watch, you were going to see some awesome content. And that, I mean, my head is still spinning from all the stuff we did. Because honestly, live tweeting all of that, making all those videos, editing all those clips, putting it all together, that wears you out, man.
And then Josh beating Shapes of Grey in between that.
That's right, man, Brand.
Like I said, that was the highlight, man. Just boom, yes, I'm the best.
Oh my gosh,
trophy to me.
That game is such a blast. If you guys haven't played, check that out. But like I said, we'll hit that later on. But I guess now we've had time to think about it. What's like one or two games that like really stuck out to you guys? You're like, man, I'm absolutely gonna buy this. This is at the top of my list. Because at the beginning, I know, like for me, it was totally Fallout. I was ready for Fallout. I saw Fallout. I'm like, Fallout is my game of the show. This is awesome. But then, I mean, they also showed off things like, Tomb Raider. And I'm super excited for Tomb Raider. Although, releasing on the same day is not that smart. I think I heard somewhere Call of Duty is also releasing the same day. So November 10th is going to be very, very busy.
To say the least.
Right. Although one thing I will say that
Just
kind of underwhelmed me though, Star Fox. I mean, when I saw it, I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Because the funny thing about Star Fox, that was the game I was probably, well, besides Fallout, of course, I was like super hyped to see this for a Nintendo system. And they showed it, and it didn't look like the Star Fox I was hoping for. But then later I heard Platinum Games is making it, and I did honestly, if I hadn't heard that, I don't think I would have believed it, because normally in Platinum Games, like, their stuff is absolutely crazy insane, and I don't know. Well, it's got time. It's got time to sort of come together.
Did you see some of the videos later?
I did. I watched some of the Treehouse Let's Plays and things like that afterwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks fine, but I don't know. We'll see. I've got time to turn around. Nintendo always makes their stuff awesome, so I don't really have too much doubt. I mean, right now I'm just sort of still sitting on it. I was hoping that my spirits would pick up on that one, but I'm still kind of neutral on that one. But one thing I'm super excited for, looking at everything coming out, making my list of all the games coming out this year, Fallout's probably still at the top of my list. That game just looks so good. But
you guys are super Nintendo fans, right?
Sure.
I mean, but I'm more recently. Like, if you had talked to Jamie about like 3-4 years ago, I remember arguing with Jamie like 3 years ago on how all Nintendo games are just kiddie and remakes and everything.
Oh
like,
my!
I totally made a transformation in a few years because I just had fun.
You're growing backwards.
That's right.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, but I've just been seeing terrible. This is from the diehard Nintendo community, but diehard angst over their conference. And I mean, to me, I wanted them to hit a home run out of the park. I wish they would have succeeded, but I sort of knew that they weren't bringing Zelda. They weren't going to talk about their new system, so there wasn't that much they could possibly hit on. And I think they made some mistakes with the games, like the Metroid game. It should have been something else. And Star Fox, they made it sound revolutionary, but it's like, okay, you can tilt the gamepad to do this, and you can do this, and it wasn't really innovative. But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, as far as, like, were you upset at all? Or were you just like, okay, this is what I expected? It wasn't going to really be, groundbreaking or anything.
Sure. Well, I'm actually kind of glad you brought this up, because like I said before, you weren't actually able to join us for the Nintendo or the Square Enix videos. So I'm kind of glad to sort of hear how you felt about it. Have you actually gone back and watched any of the trailers or any of the digital event? Because I mean, it's only like 40 minutes. It's really not that long.
I watched the Star Fox and the Metroid one. And,
okay.
I mean, like I said, it wasn't that groundbreaking or anything. I mean,
exactly.
But for fans of the series, there's things to like from that.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with Nintendo's conference. Looking back at it, I'm like, you know what? It really was a strong conference because we did get a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, we got to see Star Fox, which knew was coming. We got to see a lot more of Super Mario Maker, which looks awesome. We've got some surprises, like the Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, and one I'm actually, probably the biggest surprise for me and the best surprise for me, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, where they're taking Mario and Luigi series and the Paper Mario series and mashed them together. So that actually looks really awesome. But the problem with Nintendo when we first saw it, we were all waiting for something big. Because honestly, last year's Nintendo E3 was so good and so hyped, it had our expectations through the roof. And
yeah, it's kind of like...
Sure.
I was going to say, it's kind of like what I said after the conference itself. Like, if they would have told us a week ago that it was going to be mostly 3DS focused, and I would have expected that going in, I would have liked it a lot better initially. But, like, we kept seeing all these fun or really cool 3DS games, which, 3DS games are great, but they're not epic most of the time. And we were waiting on that Wii U game that was going to be epic, and none ever came. Like, there was no... Sure. Because Zelda wasn't there. And that was, like, my big thing. Because, I mean, if you think about it, Fire Emblem, I'm super pumped for that. Like you said, the paper and Super Mario World mix, what's that called again?
Paper Jam, yep.
Yeah. I actually am one of the very, very, very small minority that is very interested in the Metroid game.
Yeah.
Because I think that sort of play style is going to be really fun, and I think they'll throw in a story with it. I don't think it's just going to be random missions.
Sure.
And the Zelda one, I mean, there's a lot of really fun-looking 3DS games, but there was 2 Wii U games. I mean, there's Star Fox. But
well, the funny thing was, talking with our friend Bremy the other day, and we were talking to him, and he was saying that he was counting the number of 3DS games and Wii U games that were shown off during Nintendo's conference, and it was really close. It was like 7 and 8 or something like that. Like, it was the reason that we thought there were less Wii U games, I think the part of it was because there were ones we weren't interested in. It was like Animal Crossing, the board game, and it was like Shin Megami Cross Fire Emblem, and like it were these games that we didn't really have a lot of interest in, so we just kind of blew them off and didn't think about it. All the really big surprises, like Paper Mario and like the Legend of Zelda game, and that was all 3DS, and the Metroid game, which all that was on 3DS. So I think that's why in our minds we thought of it as more of a 3DS heavy conference when it really wasn't. So I don't know.
I think that and the fact that the actual good Wii U games we already knew about. Like, we knew Star Fox was going to be there, and we knew Xenoblade was going to be there. So, like, the really good Wii U games, the only surprise I had that I'm actually pretty excited for was the Mario Tennis, because I love Mario Tennis series. But, like, other than that, like, they're ones we knew about. It's kind of like the same with Microsoft's conference. Everybody after Microsoft's conference was like, well, that was okay. That was pretty good. They had a lot of solid, great games. But it was like Halo 5 we knew about, Gears of War 4 we knew about, all those. Whereas like in Sony's, it was like they play off of this, we're revealing it for the first time kind of thing. Yeah. And that's what really got people. Yeah. You always get most hyped for the games you haven't heard about before. And that's kind of what hurt us with Nintendo's Wii U games, is the really good ones we'd heard about before.
Sure. And like I said, the ones that surprised us weren't the ones we wanted. Because we wanted Metroid Prime. But we got a 4-player Metroid game for 3DS where you're not Samus. We wanted, or at least I wanted, I know other people wanted, a Wii U version of Animal Crossing. We got it, but it's a board game. It's not really Animal Crossing. So we got these major, series games, just not in the way we wanted them. But, I mean, Brant, overall, being more of an outsider on the whole Nintendo thing, what do you think about all this?
Well, to me, it's just weird just to see the real Nintendo lovers really bashing Nintendo, because that it was going to be a down year for them. They are in a transition stage. I mean, they're going to reveal the NX hopefully next year. I mean, what were you expecting? I mean, I don't know. I wish that they would have, not just would have had certain games like Metroid. I wish it was more of like a 2D style Metroid for the 3DS. I think that would have been a good move. I don't know why they don't do that. But to me it's just ludicrous to even think that they could have this huge game-breaking thing for it.
Sure. Well, I mean, last year, I think it was last year, the year before last, they showed off Super Mario 3D World. We never knew about it. They showed it off for the first time at E3, and it was out that fall. or like November or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like Splatoon, we didn't know about it. Brand new game, it's out. So I mean, they're really good at taking big games and turning them around really fast. And so that's why I guess in the past few years they've shown off some really awesome stuff, and we got it really, really quickly. And so, really the only big Wii U game, I mean, Xenoblade's coming out at the end of the year, which is awesome, and we know we're getting Star Fox. Before the end of the year, which is awesome.
Mario Tennis.
Yeah, well, but still, I'm talking
Mario
like
Maker.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mario Maker. That's going to be a big one. It's not big in the way, and that's exactly kind of what I want to get at, is that to kind of defend Nintendo a little bit. Nintendo from the beginning has always said, we're not here to keep recreating. I know a lot of people from the outside who don't play Nintendo games at all think, oh, it's just another Mario, it's the same, or it's just another Zelda, it's the same. It's really not. They change their gameplay and their interactions in the games way more than any other series that Microsoft or Sony has. Like every time they have a new iteration, they're always coming up with some new twist that, and I think the problem with Nintendo fans, the reason they bashed it so much, is because they are like any other gamer fans, and we all kind of like what's familiar to us. Think about it. Like the big hits this year were Fallout 4. Well, everybody was a big fan of Fallout 3, and there's
Not you.
upgrades in it, obviously. Well, yeah. There's upgrades in it, obviously, but it's not that much different. Halo 5. All your Halo fans, they know they're getting more Halo. Last Guardian.
New South
your
Park.
Fans of Ico. New South Park, yeah.
Yes.
Star Wars Battlefront was one that looks great, but we all know how Battlefront works.
Sure. But I mean, that gives us a reason to be excited, though, because we're familiar with them. We know what they are, and we want more of them.
But in the end, a year from now, are those always guaranteed to be the best games that you've played, or sometimes are these new ideas some of the better games you've played? And
I don't know.
The thing is, the familiar gives you hype, but it doesn't always guarantee it's the best game. And I think that Nintendo fans were like really bashing because there wasn't anything that was really familiar. All the franchises that we knew, they were, twisting them. I guess like the new Zelda was kind of like a twist on the Four Swords, but it was still like a new twist. Metroid Prime, nothing had been done like that in the Metroid universe before. Most of the other ones that went by really fast, like Fire Emblem is going to be really different, but they've went over that. Xenoblade, we already known about for a while. Mario Maker is a new type of Mario. It's a classic Mario game, but you can build new levels. We're not really familiar with this, so we can't get really super excited. And I think everybody was just outraged they didn't have a familiar, great brand franchise type game. They didn't have a new Metroid Prime that was the same, because I honestly don't want Metroid Prime 4. I'm one of the few who don't want it, because that series is kind of...
Well, I want a 2D Metroid, so...
Yeah, 2D
Everybody has their
Metroid would
own
be
view on
great.
what Metroid should be. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that, and then, Mario, people were thinking maybe the Tokyo EAD or whatever that studio is going to announce their new Mario game. Everybody wants the new Super Mario Galaxy.
Sure.
Nobody ever goes into an E3 saying, I want something completely new, because you don't know how you're going to take it. And
Well,
people trashed it because
true.
they gave us all really new things and not things we were familiar
But
with.
I mean, one thing we should remember, though, what they're releasing, I mean, it's coming, like, even the Metroid game that people are, like, totally bashing, it has over 44,000 dislikes on their YouTube page. Only 4,000 likes. So, I mean, yeah, that for Nintendo, that's just insane. There's a petition.
Honestly,
there's a petition going around. I forget how many signatures are on it to try to cancel the game. But here's the thing.
Come on.
Yeah, no joke. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, this is made by Next Level Games. That's the people that made the new Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. That's the people who made Punch-Out. They made Mario Strikers on Wii and GameCube. Like, they've made some awesome stuff. And I've been waiting forever to find out what Next Level Games is doing. And it's this Metroid game. So they've got to know what they're doing. I have to feel so bad for those guys.
That's
because
insane.
People are bashing them so hard. They're telling them to cancel the game. They've been working on this for years. How would you feel if you were making a game, putting your heart and soul and everything you have into this game? Because they've had to been working on this since Luigi's Mansion finished.
And this is where...
And now
That's
all they
where
get
they-
is hatred and 44,000 dislikes and all this.
Someone
uproar. It's
someone
crazy.
higher up has to come in and say, okay, because it's what I'm getting from this is that they're not listening to the fans. The game might be spectacular, but I think it's terrible what they're doing. They make a petition about it, everything. But Nintendo has to do a better job of listening to what people want. They sort of think, I'm getting the perception that they just think that they can do whatever they want, and usually their games turn out awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to like this. But they need to start changing some things up. And we know there's doom and gloom around Nintendo right now, but in the end, it'll perfectly be fine, and the NX will probably be amazing. And,
I kind of actually disagree a little bit, respectfully. I think that...
Fight!
No, get over here.
I think that Nintendo doing that, they're the ones that time and time again have given us something that becomes classic and becomes great. If we had always done what, Sony and Microsoft does and just stuck with the same type of gameplay, we'd never have 3D worlds. Nintendo with Super Mario 64 gave us 3D worlds in games.
Yeah.
They're the ones that give us these new ideas. Sometimes they're a hit and sometimes they're not. But if anybody actually looks at this Metroid game, at any time you blow up a 3DS screen, it always looks bad on a big screen. So people can't complain about how bad it looks because it's going to look great on a 3DS screen.
Mm-hmm.
But it plays like Metroid Prime. It's
That's
just a
one thing I didn't notice.
version
Yeah,
where you're
watching
not
the
seeing
Treehouse stuff, it's like they're taking the fun gameplay of Metroid, and you're playing on the same planets and stuff, the same enemies and all that stuff. It's just you're doing it in multiplayer.
Yeah,
and so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
But Matt, they have to. No, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Brant.
No, I just said they have to get over this extreme hubris that they have, and I think it's great they still do their own thing. They're going to, but some things need to change. Like, come up with new franchises.
They've got
break
Splatoon,
away.
They've got Pushmo. They've come up with a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, here's where I kind of see things in a way that most people don't see it this way. So what I was gonna get at with that is that I think that people making a petition like this and people putting dislikes, nobody's even giving the game a chance or looking at it because it looks actually really fun, but they're all basically, and sorry, no offense to everybody out there, they're basically a bunch of crybabies who aren't doing the game that they
But
Nintendo
had to know this though. Why?
But every time they ever do one of those interviews with them, like with Miyamoto or whatever, and he's going over Star Fox or something like that, he comes out and he says, "These are some of the new things we're doing in this game. It's a new take on this game." He did it with when they came out last year. I forget what game came out last year that a couple years ago, Pikmin 3. A few years ago, I guess it was a few years ago now. But whenever he works on a game, he says, "This is what we're doing," and they explain everything they're doing new. He goes, "We think this is a lot of fun. This is a new take. We really hope you will enjoy it." I don't see it so much as hubris, so much as them saying, what's something new that we can make fun? Because honestly, people don't realize this, but after a while, playing third-person adventures and playing first-person adventures, you do get burnt out on them. They're the ones. Nintendo is the one company that's trying to make new ways to game. Everybody else is making the same kind of feel in new worlds.
And let's see about the Wii U sale there.
Okay. Brant, let's hear your closing statement on this argument.
Well, you heard it. I mean, they just need to just take a step back, I think, and just not so much try to, just do what everybody says, but they need to, find that Nintendo passion and love. And I mean, with all these games you saw that they introduced, Star Fox Zero, yeah, it looks great, but they just need to, start with their franchises, build games around those that, people want to see, not these, like an Animal Crossing ... board game.
Sure.
Or a Metroid Prime ... 4-player co-op, whatever that is, it's just do it. Just, I don't know. They know what they need to do. Miyamoto, sure. He's a genius. They'll right the ship somehow. They'll be okay.
Yeah.
And just judging by the Wii U sales, something is not working there. They have great games. The games for that are some of the best of this generation, but it's still not selling. And I think they're understanding that system's just gone now.
Yeah, and like I said,
can't do it with
from this
Smash
year's E3, it kind of felt that way. But it's a very odd generation because if you look at what's out, obviously Nintendo has the most exclusives of any system this generation, hands down, just because Nintendo is pretty much the only one making games for their own system.
And the most good exclusives, too.
But the thing is, when you look at like PlayStation, Xbox, like 90% of what they have is exactly the same. Yet PlayStation is selling much, much better, and they still don't have, really any exclusives this year. All the stuff they've been talking about this E3 was for, 2016, 2017, and farther. So a lot of what PlayStation is doing right now, they're selling more on the future versus the now. Not saying it's a bad thing. Not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's just different sales strategies. And so a lot of people say you need games to sell systems. You need games to sell systems. PlayStation exclusive-wise, doesn't really have the games right now. Yet they're selling the most systems. So a lot of the thing has to do with marketing and what you put in, how you sort of present yourself. Because with the Wii U from the beginning, it's kind of felt like it's always been an underpowered system. And once third parties started dropping it like a rock, like right from the beginning, before the first year was even out, third parties were jumping off of that thing. They weren't even giving it a chance because they were ready to jump into the next generation. And now the NX, if it releases next year, I wouldn't be surprised, or the year after. If it's not at least as powerful as PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo's going to have some problems.
That's going to be a problem.
But it's kind of funny. I feel like I'm a referee in the middle of this year, and these two boxers coming at each other.
Duke it out. No, I love you, Matt, man.
I love you too, man. I just feel like people were... It brings into a good question, like,
Life of gaming style.
What is people's involvement in the creative process? Because in the end, we judge with our dollars. You buy it or you don't, and that's fine if people don't want to buy it. But to actually complain and cry that much, I think people have forgotten that this is entertainment. It's not, like your life. It's not the end all to everything. And I think that particular kind of outcry from the people was pretty pathetic.
Sure.
In that sense.
Oh yeah.
But
okay, now I've got a new debate for you guys. This is something that Brant's been looking for.
This is debate corner.
This is a very interesting episode. This is like the argument episode of debating. Super debate. One thing I've done today that I kind of did somewhat of a social experiment, I guess you'd call it. During the PlayStation conference, what they did, they came out and said, we're bringing Shenmue 3 back. People freaked out. They thought, this is awesome. I am so excited about this. But there was kind of a catch to it. PlayStation said, we will back this game if it meets a Kickstarter goal first. And so when I first heard that, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I was thinking, well, people like Mighty Number 9 and Yooka-Laylee and all these other games that are made by developers, they get funded no problem. They all smash their goals into pieces. Even things like Toe Jam and Earl met its goal, no problem. So why did Shenmue 3 get this special treatment? And so, because here's the thing that's kind of a weird thing about it. Some people on this Kickstarter were paying up to $10,000 to back this. And then PlayStation comes out and says, okay, we're going to fund it now because it met its goal. And so what I think kind of what they should have done is had like maybe just make all the backing $30, $40, whatever that game ends up being, and just have everyone back it that way. That way it's more of like a pre-order system versus a pay what you want Kickstarter. But I know, Brant, you had absolutely no problem with this. You thought it was absolutely fine, right?
It's people's money. If that's that, hey, this person's stupid for donating $10,000, but hey, if they really want the game that much,
right.
I mean, but the way I see it, I think I read something about the developer. I forget the guy's name. He was worried about doing a Kickstarter because I guess Shenmue 2 was like $50 million to make, and I guess he was worried to start that. And Sony gave this game a chance to actually, let's get the Kickstarter started, see where it ends up, and then, that way you don't have to worry about, not making enough money because we'll fund the rest. And some of these Kickstarter games just go into developmental hell and just never come out.
Yeah.
But then this way, even if there is trouble, Sony can, put more money in that might not be there. And therefore, this game can get, because with Kickstarters, they usually go up to like $3 million, $4 million at the most.
But sure, but if this game's going to cost them $50, $60 million to make, why not just fund it all? What was the point of making people pay sometimes up to $10,000 and give Sony this $2 million? Because it's like a drop in the bucket.
I don't see, because people that, reasonably, crowdfund this are pretty much buying the game when they paid $50 up front. Okay, that's one of the tiers. You get the game. So it's crowdfunded. I mean, it's not hurting anybody. It's just like if you're crowdfunding something that wasn't sponsored by Sony,
Sure. Well, Matt, where are you sitting on this?
This just takes the risk from them away because they know, okay, Sony has this too, so it's definitely going to come out. And instead of if I donate my money and I never see it again because this game never did make it. So actually, when I look at it like that, it's actually safer that way. It's coming out now. Take my money.
Yeah. Sure, but game. I mean, why? But I'm trying to tell you is that well, I guess Matt, let's hear what you have to say on this first.
I was gonna say I want to start off by definitely saying I've never played any of the Shenmue series, so I have nothing personal for or against this particular game. If it comes out and it's great, that's fine. I probably wouldn't play it even if I had a PlayStation because I never played the earliest iterations, and I would buy others. But I think when we were talking about in our Sony video, my fundamental point wasn't so much focused on the game aspect. People are really excited about the game, but it was on the principles of modern capitalism and kind of the way our country works. I felt that it was kind of cheap for a business, a multi-billion-dollar business that could easily fund a game to make the public fund it in part way. And I think the cheaper part when I read in that article was there was no limit. And I think the way, Jamie, you posted that article, the way the guy said it, if you made everybody have a limit of like $50 that they could donate, well, that's fine. Then it's kind of like a
pre-order,
a new type of pre-order system, and then so many people want it, and that's one thing. But they didn't, and there were a lot of people paying up to like $10,000, and I'm like, for a company that has the funds to invest in it, I'm thinking like outside of the gaming world, any other time in any industry, you have a belief in a product, you invest your money into it. You don't like.
That's just the risk of being
the money is going to the developer. It's not even going to Sony.
No, it does through
10,000
portion of anytime because in the end what Sony does is they get it and then they get to sell it as an exclusive and they get a portion of the sales. So
right.
Like in the end they're making that deal for its exclusivity, and as a business fundamentally what they're saying is we're having the public fund it so we don't have to pay as much, yet we're going to profit off of it. And that part alone, I mean, if you look in this and close in any sort of business, that principle alone is kind of cheap.
What would you guys say
if passion in it?
What would you guys say if Microsoft did this? Would this change the way you look at it?
No, absolutely not. Just because, like I said, the whole reason that it was kind of rubbing me the wrong way is that it's like they don't want to step into owning up to the game. They're like, well, we'll just kind of put our toe into it, and then when it's successful, we'll take all the credit. It's kind of like how I felt about it. Because, like I said, Sony doesn't need that 2-3 million, whatever they're sitting at now. I mean, the Kickstarter was almost like a joke because they funded it so quickly. Like, it was funded almost instantly. And it was, I guess it broke a bunch of records being the fastest Kickstarter ever. And it's like, they already knew the passionate audience was there. Why couldn't they just back it all and, put their own money into it? Now they're getting like this free $2 million or $3 million to do whatever they want with. You know what I mean?
Now,
versus Sony paying for the rest of it. But one thing I wanted to say just real quick, the whole reason I said like this became a social experiment, what I did, the article Matt was talking about earlier that I think it was like Games Radar, someone had posted about the situation and how it kind of rubbed them the wrong way. I'm like, well, I'm kind of curious to see what other people think. So I went into the Podcast Beyond, Podcast Unlocked, and into the voice chat groups, posted the story and said, what are your thoughts? And honestly, the PlayStation side, they were, all for it, saying it was awesome. The Microsoft side, of course, was, majority was all against it. And Nintendo's side was kind of like 50-50.
It's a fanboy thing.
Kind of, yeah. But like I said, if it was Microsoft, though, I'd still feel the same way. I'm like,
but
put your money where your mouth is. If you believe
would
in
have
this
seen
game,
the exact opposite.
I'll be 100% honest and be unbiased about this. If it was like, let's say Halo had fallen through and, after Bungie left and they would have never made Halo 4, and all of a sudden, like a couple years later, some ex-Bungie guys came together and said, we want to make Halo 4, and Microsoft put it up on Kickstarter to get it jump-started and said it. What I would honestly say is, to myself, I'd say, wow, that's kind of cheap. but then I would be happy the game's coming out. And I think that's the way a lot of Sony fans are responding.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, if they really think about the principle of the business deal and the principle of how that was within our capitalistic economy, they might admit, okay, that is a little cheap, but they're just excited about the game. And I will honestly 100% unbiasedly admit, if it was on the other foot, I would think to myself, wow, that's cheap, but I would be more excited about the game.
Sure. But
Let's say if it was Silent Hills. What if this was happening for Silent Hills?
I've never gotten into the Silent Hill series, so I don't know, but yeah,
Sure.
I can see it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like if Microsoft was say, okay, we can kickstart this, but then Microsoft came in, said, okay, there's enough support. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, and
I would-
that's where,
the way the
that's where it
Kickstarter
brings in bias.
Sure, but the way the Kickstarter works most of the time, the company will do a Kickstarter, they'll get it funded, and after they show that they have, that people still want it, they kind of shop it around to, have a bigger company, maybe it's Ubisoft or maybe, whoever, fund the rest so they can finish the game. Well, this one, they kind of cut out that entire step and said Sony's already going to fund it, but we're still going to do the whole Kickstarter thing at the beginning. It almost felt kind of useless in a way.
The way I kind of look at it,
I don't know.
the way I kind of look at it, it's like, imagine like a Super Bowl and there was like a horrible call, and the team that you were just think about this. This is like a metaphor or amusing. Imagine there's like a Super Bowl.
Okay,
and there's
I'm
this
imagining with
horrible
my
call,
brain.
but the team that you were rooting for ended up winning the Super Bowl as a result of that horrible call. You might say to yourself, wow, that was really cheap, but you're really excited that they won. Versus if you were on like the other team or rooting for the other team, you would be like, that is so cheap,
So what you're saying is Sony is like the New England Patriots.
No, I'm
They
just
did
saying
win.
like that feeling. That's
They're
my way to
getting the
describe
deal.
the feeling that I actually have. Like the feeling that I actually
dude.
have is, if you're somebody who's really excited about this game and you have a PlayStation, then you're willing to overlook the maybe minimal shadiness of the fact that they did have the public fess up a lot of money for it. When they could have funded it themselves. If you are somebody who doesn't have a Sony system and maybe you want to play Shenmue but you can't, or you have to go out and buy a system, or maybe you just don't care,
Guys.
you're just on the other side of the fence, then you kind of see it for the business deal that it is. In that sense, that I'm trying to express, like, that's the feeling that I would get.
Yeah. But guys, it's really people's money.
No, absolutely.
I mean,
They
if
can
it's
do whatever.
free
Absolutely.
Kickstarting, that's
But-
what they're going to do.
Absolutely. And I thought it was
Those who
interesting
didn't
just
give
because.
10,000 were idiots.
But like
Yeah,
I said,
exactly.
The whole reason I just brought this up was just because I saw different emotions all over the place. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. But one funny thing about the whole Shenmue thing, Shenmue 1 was on the Dreamcast. Shenmue 2 was on the original Xbox. And Shenmue 3 is going to be on the PlayStation 4. So the only way you even be able to play this entire thing is if you own 3 different systems. And when they interviewed the creator of Shenmue and said, is there any way you'll bring 1 and 2 over to PlayStation 4 so we can have the whole series? And he said, it's not up to me. That's up to Sega. Sega owns the rights to Shenmue 1 and 2. They actually sold the rights of Shenmue 3 to the creator. But Shenmue 1 and 2 still belongs to Sega. So the only way that would even come to PlayStation 4 would be, if Sega allowed it and they up-resed it and put the money into that project. Because otherwise, I don't think there's any other way to really play those games. So that would be kind of an interesting turn of events.
True.
Well, real quick, guys. We're gonna end our show talking about, if we could pick one big moment out of E3 that we absolutely loved this year. It could be a game, it could be an announcement. What do you guys think it's gonna be? But before we get to that, real quick, we are going to let you listen to our interview that we had, like we said, with Trent Steen of Secret Tunnel Entertainment, to hear about what went into making Shapes of Grey and why that game is so awesome. So make sure to check that out. Okay, guys, for this part of the show, we actually have a very special guest with us today. You may have heard of his game, Shapes of Grey. It's been on PC. It was recently released on Wii U, and as of today, a updated version has been put out on PC as well. We have Trent Steen from Secret Tunnel Entertainment. Trent, how are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, man. We're very excited to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, as we get started, let our listeners know a little bit about you before we get into the whole shapes of gray and in games, things like that. Just let them know about where you're from, and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so basically, I'm a junior in college studying game development and computer science. Shapes of Gray is the first game I ever put out. I've also done a few game jam projects you can play online too, but Shapes of Gray is the big one. Just came out on WiiU, PC, trying to get its name out there, trying to get a whole bunch of people to play it, and people are liking it.
Oh, this game, if you guys haven't played this yet, Shapes of Gray is awesome. Trent and I
it's a great twin
it.
stick shooter. I mean, yeah, I went for our E3 extravaganza. When I was playing it, you just got to watch the video. We have it posted on our YouTube site.
It was a
man.
blast,
I was losing on that first boss you face. Yeah, it was intense, but that was the highlight of the E3 party.
Right. And Brant was the only person able to make it all the way through that first 40 or 49 levels.
Yes,
correct?
I have the trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Let people know a little bit about the game, like Shapes of Gray. What's it about?
Shapes of Gray is a top-down action arcade game. I like to describe it as Hotline Miami meets WarioWare because every single level has a time limit on it, and so it's sort of that Hotline Miami twin stick, not really a shooter, more of a melee game, and then every single level has a different configuration of enemies, and you sort of use the enemies' attacks against each other. It's pretty fun. Arcade game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's absolute blast.
And that's one thing, when I was playing it, there was a lot more depth than what you would think. Like, you would just think, okay, you're slashing these guys, but you could actually make the projectiles go back towards the enemies, and there was items that you could use that, like ninja stars, and then you get the hearts that help, and I mean, it was pretty deep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that sort of came from Spelunky. Playing that game and seeing how all the systems interact. I wanted to see if I could sort of emulate that sort of systemic combinations of a whole bunch of different enemies and attacks, just with a much simpler game.
Yeah, you are taking a good gesture from those games, because I love Spelunky and SteamWorld Dig and games like that.
Oh,
yep.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I really liked about SteamWorld Gray, look what you made me do, Josh. Shapes of Gray.
That works too.
Right.
At least
I
you
would
didn't
play
say 50
SteamWorld
shades.
Gray.
At least you
hear
didn't
that
say
images
50
for 'em?
shades of
There you
gray. That would have been a problem.
But with Shapes of Gray is that with that game, you're always learning. Like, you hit start and you were right in the game. And like Brant was saying, as we were playing, you kind of learn the different enemies' attacks. And I didn't even realize I could hit the projectiles back, and then Brant did it. It's like, oh my gosh. And like, it's just you kind of learn as you go, and that's really awesome.
So, Trent, is there a story behind this game? Because it's sort of, I'm drawing similarities, because when you beat it, there's like this Triforce. Then one of the triangles fills in black, and the little thing or person you control has a sword. Is there some type of underlying story together from this, or?
There are a few Zelda references in there, but that's more so just the game's overall aesthetic and everything. In terms of a story, not explicitly. Sort of what I was trying to do with the game is try to give the player a story that they can experience without necessarily having it be necessarily about anything else. So like, you're talking about the feeling of surprise you got when you realized you could reflect the projectiles, or how you felt triumphant when you beat the final boss. To me, a game can give you those feelings without necessarily being about anything else. So sort of the idea behind Shapes of Gray is that in a lot of ways, most games are just about gray shapes fighting each other, but then they dress it up with saying it's a fantasy game or it's a sci-fi game, when really at their core they're just about one cool gameplay idea. And I figured I wanted to strip away everything else, all the other story and art and everything, and just focus on what can gameplay interactions make you feel while playing a game with nothing else to go off of.
Cool.
Yeah, because like you said, it's something that it looks simple at first, but there's just so much depth to it. And you said you had it on PC originally, and you kind of you've improved it and put it on Wii U. What kind of things have you changed from that original version?
Yeah, so the original version it was only that first set of 50 levels. And then the Wii U version, spoilers, once you beat the first set of 50 levels, you unlock a second set of 50 levels and an arcade mode, and then some challenges, and then maybe some other things after that if you get really far into the game. But yeah, the original game was just those 50 levels, and so in the Wii U version and the new PC version, not only are there more levels and more enemies and more modes, but that first set of 50 levels has been improved. The pacing's been improved. The enemies interact with each other in more ways. There are some more visual effects. So I sort of just polished up the game and then made more of it.
Awesome. And I mean, I actually love those little flares in there, how you hit those one guys and they explode and they leave a mark on the screen and it stays there. Like it doesn't, it doesn't fade away. I'm like, just little things like that. And how your enemies can actually take out other enemies. I actually thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So when you made Shapes of Grey, you said it first came out on PC. What made you decide to make Shapes of Grey?
Like I said earlier, Spelunky, playing that game, seeing how the systems interact. I wanted to make a game. I had also played Hotline Miami around the same time that I played Spelunky, so I was like, I wonder if I could combine Hotline Miami and Spelunky, the moment-to-moment gameplay of Hotline Miami with sort of the long-term systemic interactions of Spelunky. And so I basically just made a prototype where you play as a little gray blob and you attack other shapes, and then I kind of ran with the idea of shapes since I myself am not a good artist and I couldn't afford to hire anyone to make art for me. And so I ran with the idea of Shapes of Grey, and then the game sort of just grew from that idea.
Awesome. I mean, in the same way, is that kind of what inspired you to use a sword versus a different twin stick shooter? Because in this game, you're moving around with the sticks. The left stick controls your movement, and the right stick controls the aim of your weapon. But instead of firing, you just have a sword you swing, which I think actually made this game really unique.
Yeah.
So, what was it like to get it onto the Wii U? I mean, was that a pretty difficult process?
It wasn't too terribly difficult to apply. Basically, Nintendo has a developer website that you can just fill out an application on, and then that takes like 10 minutes. You send them your application. It usually takes them, from what I hear from other developers, like 2 months to get back to you. That's what I experienced as well.
Okay.
They get back to you, call you, and then you sign a non-disclosure agreement saying, I won't tell anyone everything else that comes after this point. So then, but it's a relatively straightforward process, and porting the game was pretty easy too, thanks to Game Maker's HTML5 export module. Okay. Which I used to get the game running on the Nintendo Web Framework.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it all runs through HTML5.
Yeah.
Huh, okay. Now, you have it on PC and Wii U right now. Do you have plans to bring it to other platforms?
Hopefully PlayStation.
Okay, cool. And
I hope so. That's all I have, so.
Yeah, I would love to get it.
I mean, I guess I could get it to run on this PC, but.
Yeah, I'd love a Vita version of Shapes of Grey.
That would be perfect. That would be absolutely perfect. I mean, it's great playing the TV as well, but that is like, just because of the levels, they're like you said, they're quick, they're fast, and that would be perfect for something like on a handheld like a Vita. Have you tried to get it onto like the 3DS or anything like that, or is that a whole other process?
3DS is like another world of development from all the others.
Okay. Would getting anything from like PC onto Xbox, I mean, do they have any kind of similar architecture, or is that something that's not even on your radar right now?
Xbox One does have a Game Maker export module, so if I could get in with Microsoft, then porting that would be relatively easy as well. Okay, awesome. Because honestly, the more platforms it's on, I'll probably pick it up on those platforms.
On every single one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's a great game, and honestly, you're doing awesome work, man. I would love to support that.
Well, thank you.
So we're trying to get the word out to as many people as possible. Like I said, we put some videos up on our YouTube page and things like that, and like I said, it's just a blast to play. Do you have anything do you have any idea of what you want to do after Shapes of Grey? Do you have any plans for the future?
Right now I'm working on a little side project called Dog Piano.
Okay.
That name alone.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the name and that's basically what the game is. It started off as a global game jam project back in January that my friends and I just made in like a day.
Huh.
And so the idea is that it's this floating keyboard in a realm of dogs, and there's paw prints raining down from the sky, and then you just click on a key and instead of making a piano noise, it's a dog bark that corresponds to whatever note that is.
Huh.
And that's all the game is. So it's like, probably put it up
That's
for
a
a free
day one
download
buy.
on the Wii U if I can.
Yeah.
So for something like that, you said you and your friends made it. How many people, was it just you that made Shapes of Grey?
Yeah, Shapes of Grey was entirely by me, minus
Okay.
the soundtrack, which was made by a friend of mine.
Okay. And that soundtrack is actually awesome too.
Yeah,
because
that was great.
I was going to say, it's catchy, but it's not like overbearing. Like it fits in really well and it helps you get in the groove of the game. So while you're playing, you just sort of feel the music.
Yeah, he did an excellent job with that soundtrack.
Awesome. And with Shapes of Grey, do you have any plans of doing any kind of, because I know you said you already went through and kind of, improved it from the old PC version. Do you think you'll ever go back and add, more levels or more content or anything like that in the future?
Probably not.
Okay. It's one of those kind of one and done things. You have that vision right where you want it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with Dog Piano and all those things coming out, we hope to see more from you, man, because we really enjoy your content.
Yeah, and I love making it, so hopefully I can keep doing it forever.
Awesome. Well, as you make more, just let us know. We'd love to get the word out for you, man.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to be on the podcast more too.
Oh, absolutely. I guess real quick on a podcasting thing versus the game development side. I'm assuming you've been paying attention to E3, right?
Yeah.
And what was your favorite moment from all of the beginning of the week, last week's craziness?
Well, obviously Sony had the 3 big mind-blowing announcements, but
absolutely.
honestly, what blew my mind the most while watching E3 was the Microsoft Minecraft HoloLens demo,
Oh, okay.
where it rises out of the table and they're like looking around in the world. That was crazy. That's like the coolest thing I've ever seen at E3.
And you know what that means? You got to put Shapes of Grey on there, man. You can sort of look around your room and you can be shooting everything.
Imagine that.
Oh man.
I mean, that's going to be really awesome. And is that something that, in the future we'd like to kind of try to develop games for?
I don't know if I could, but
You never know, man. Sky's the limit.
Yep,
Yeah, I
computer
guess.
science. Yep.
But was there any particular games that stood out to you at all? Of E3 in general? Because I know there was a lot that happened.
Cuphead still looks cool.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Man.
Cuphead looks so good. I've been wanting to get my hands on that game forever.
And then No Man's Sky. Oh, Mario Maker.
Oh, yeah.
Can't forget that. That looked amazing.
So what do you think about the whole Nintendo conference? Because there's been a lot of backlash on that one.
Yeah, and I can understand that. It was definitely underwhelming, but my thing is we kind of knew it would be going in because it's a weird transition year for them. We knew they weren't going to talk about Zelda. We knew they weren't going to talk about NX. We knew they weren't going to talk about mobile. So it's like, well, that doesn't really leave much for them to talk about aside from a few 3DS announcements, which they did make.
So do you think the Wii U, how many years do you think there's left, or do you think Nintendo's just kind of, counting their losses and, getting out of there?
I'm guessing Zelda will be the last game that we get for the Wii U, and then NX will probably be out by holiday 2016.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. We'll see. Although with the Wii, it kind of had a long death in there.
Yeah. But man, I feel like they can't afford to have a year between Zelda and then their next system unless they're working on some more Wii U games, which I kind of got the vibe that they weren't from their E3 conference.
I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead,
Well,
Brent.
like you said, Trent, I think they're just biding their time. I mean, I don't know why people are so infuriated with this press conference when they knew there wasn't going to be much coming out anyway. I mean, they're sort of in that transition phase, so they can't really reveal too much going on right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely very true.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've got another question for you, Trent. How do you feel about Kickstarter? Are you a fan of that, or are you against that? Just because being on the creative side, I'm just kind of curious to hear your feelings on that.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, because I know with the whole
Shenmue 3.
Yeah, the Shenmue 3 thing. Because today I was kind of curious. So I went into, on IGN, they've got, their Nintendo group and their Xbox group and their PlayStation group. And I went in there, I kind of asked the same question just to see how everyone's feeling. And of course, most of the PlayStation people were totally for it. Most of the Xbox people were totally against it. And Nintendo people were kind of in the middle. So I was just kind of curious where you sat on that. Because, I think Kickstarter is a great thing. And I've actually, I backed Shovel Knight and they've had a lot of awesome games out there. And I know Brant and I totally disagreed on this.
Yep.
Because I felt like with things like Mighty Number 9 and Yooka-Laylee and things like that, they didn't have a company backing them like that, like Sony did. And so, in my opinion, I felt like Kickstarter was more for, the companies starting out who can't fund the game, who have no way to fund the game. That's what they go to. Where with the Shenmue stuff, Sony already said, we're going to back this, but we want you to, kickstart it first, which I thought was kind of odd.
Yeah, the Shenmue 3 thing is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but I do like Kickstarter in theory. I think plenty of games exist that wouldn't have existed without it, even if it's not 100% ideal.
Sure. And have you ever actually backed anything?
I feel like I've backed two. The Brawl in the Family webcomic books.
Okay.
Where the way they did that was you just have to back the Kickstarter, and that's how many books they make.
Huh.
And if you don't back it, then you probably won't get one. So I was like, well, I guess I got to back it then.
Well, that's cool.
That makes it easy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, where can people find you at? I know, like you said, Secret Tunnel Entertainment, but like Twitter and those kind of places, where's the best place for people to find you and kind of find your work?
Easiest way would probably be on Twitter, @secret_tunnel.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on our show today, man. We were very glad to have you. And just to sort of talk about your game and what you're doing with that. And we're actually really looking forward to see whatever else you have, coming out down the line.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I guess,
yeah, thanks a lot for coming on. I mean, and I have a question. I'm just curious, what games are you enjoying right now? Like, are you playing The Witcher at all or anything big name titles right now?
No big name stuff right now. I'm meaning to start Earthbound Beginnings pretty soon, within the next couple of days. I have it downloaded on my WiiU and ready to go.
That'll be a good one.
And then I've been chipping away at Virtue's Last Reward for like the past 6 months. If you guys
oh man, I want to play that so bad.
Have you played 999?
No, I haven't played any of those yet, but I've heard so many good things about them. Danganronpa, I played that, and yeah, that was fantastic. And I hear that it's sort of like that, so I need to just go ahead and buy that. But
yeah, I'm saving Danganronpa for after I beat Virtue's Last Reward, but they're fantastic games.
Yes.
So do you have all the systems right now, or you just have the PlayStation and the Wii U?
I have all the systems except for PS4 and Xbox One.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Holding out.
So what's that one game that's going to pull you over?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Horizon.
I'd love to get a PS4 as soon as possible. I mean, Arkham Knight looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see when I can get one. If I have to, I'll just play Phantom Pain on my PS3, but it would be nice to play that on PS4.
Absolutely.
I didn't even know that was coming out for the old gen consoles.
Yeah, it is.
Huh. Interesting.
We're kind of an interesting turning point right now because some of the games are coming out for both and some of them aren't, because things like Fallout are just next gen, but then things like Tomb Raider and like Metal Gear are coming out for both. So I think we're right on the tail end of that last generation now.
Yeah, I'm thinking Metal Gear will be the last one because Fallout and Call of Duty both this year are only for next gen, right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
I wasn't sure about Call of Duty. Okay.
I'm not sure about Call of Duty either, but I think
it is. Yep.
Okay, man. Well, thanks for joining us. We're very happy to have you. And like I said, if you guys haven't checked out Shapes of Grey yet, absolutely do it. Check it on the Wii U, or if you got a PC, check it on the PC. You won't regret it. It is absolutely awesome. And Trent, just thank you again, man, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, guys, we're back. Trent, thank you again, man, for coming on the show. We absolutely loved having you on the show. It was great, that you could come on and talk with us. And that, like we said before, that game is absolutely awesome. If you have a Wii U or a PC, make sure to check out Shapes of Grey. That guy's going places, man. That game was awesome. But to finish up our E3 talk real quick, what was like that one or two big moments from E3 that really, really stood out to you? Brant, I guess we'll start with you this time, man. What do you think?
Well, if you're going for the biggest announcement, I think it's Microsoft hitting that backwards compatibility. I think that's huge. People make a bigger deal about that than it really is in the long run, so it's going to stick in their minds more, and they're going to be like, okay, I can get this Xbox One that has, it's going to have 100 games by the end of the year.
Yep.
Most likely that that if you already own, you can download, and more to add on to that. So yeah, I mean, you're getting more of a deal for it, which personally I still own my PS3.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal for me, this news, but I think it's very wise on Microsoft's part to put this as a forerunner on their show and say, hey, you're getting a better deal here. Come with us, I mean, you don't have to buy a PS3 or an Xbox 360, if you want to play these games again. Which for me, I'd rather play new games. So
I'm actually surprised that you picked an Xbox moment as the big moment of the show that wowed you. I think
it's huge. I think it's gonna help them sell.
Sure.
Very well. And I won't buy an Xbox One, but I think it's good for them, and it's gonna make I think things a little tighter, in this race that we're having.
Sure.
And so, and then like I said before, if you check out our streams of the E3 coverage, I was really high on the Final Fantasy VII news. Star Wars Battlefront, yeah. That was probably my game of show just because of how incredible that looked, and going from I'm not going to buy this to now awesome. I want to buy this day one. But there's a few games that they didn't show. Battleborn by 2K, the guys that made Borderlands, Borderlands 2. Yeah, that game looks very awesome. Like there's like 20, I think 30 classes you can be, and they have the skill trees as you level up as you play, and they each have their own different way of fighting. I mean, that game looked really awesome. And then Adrift is another one that I didn't really see before this, that you're like in outer space, and it's like got that weightlessness to it, like your spaceship's like crashing and burning, you're like just floating in space, and it was really just breathtaking how it looked.
Oh, by the way, do you know who's making that game? Do you remember that? Remember that a few years ago, right before Xbox One was launching, and that guy said, Xbox is always online, deal with it?
Oh, yeah.
It's that guy.
That's right.
Yeah,
that guy.
He's the guy that's making
that?
Yep. But I guess
I'm not going to buy that.
That's sort of the one point in his history that kind of stands out. But if you look at that guy's history, he's actually made a lot of really cool stuff, and that game actually does look really cool. But
I remember when that happened. I put on Facebook and everything. I was like, I will deal with it by getting a PS4. But I couldn't stay away from Halo. I love it too much. But...
Well, Matt, what was like your big wow moment, and what was your game of the show then?
I mean, wow moments. I was pretty blown away by that Horizon game, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah,
like
man,
I'm still
incredible.
like that game. I don't. Like, there was great combat in it. I'm wondering, like, how RPG-ish it's going to be, and, how expansive it's going to be and everything. But, like, that game still blew me away. But, I mean, Star Wars Battlefront looked amazing. And I saw, they didn't even announce it at any point during the conferences, but Castle Crashers is coming out with an HD version for the next generation system.
Sweet.
So definitely getting that.
That game is so awesome.
And, Matt, we really liked For Honor, too.
Yeah, I loved that game. Looked great. That's one that I would like to try. I don't know if I'd get it like right away. I guess it's still a while before it comes out, but there was one game in particular that I looked at later. I was going back and watching like the Treehouse and the Xbox Live daily or whatever, and those kinds of things. And there was an indie game that we saw really quick for Xbox, and it was called Beyond Eyes. And it was where like that girl was walking, and all you saw was stuff that was like 3 foot around her. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was like a big white screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I looked into that.
Like,
yeah,
yep,
watercolor. They showed like a little special on that, and it kind of hit home with me because what it is, it's a girl who is like 10 years old, and she goes blind. And I guess I've never played Unfinished Swan, but I guess it's a lot like it in the sense that like now she's trying to interact with the world, and that's why you can only see like 3 feet around her, because it's like everything from the watercolors to how the things change from good images to dark images all depends on her mood, because she interacts with the world as a blind girl would, and everything is depicted as something that a 10-year-old girl would remember. So like what you're seeing might be a scarecrow, but in reality it might be something else. It's just to her what's scary is a scarecrow. But like I just thought it was really cool and like a really neat experience, and plus the fact like I almost went blind a few years ago, like depending on what happened. So that kind of hit home with me. But that game actually kind of blew me away.
Yeah, that game looked beautiful.
Yeah, it did. So, I mean, what would you say is your game of the show then?
That was my biggest, like, after I looked into it, kind of like hit home with me on a personal level.
Sure.
Game of show though is probably Star Wars Battlefront. That just looks
Gotcha.
incredible.
Star Wars Battlefront from both of you.
definitely.
Oh man. Well, see, for me,
well, Fallout 4 is sort of
Sure.
game of show.
Well, you kind of stole my wow moment, Matt, because I was going to say Horizon for PlayStation 4.
Oh yeah.
Because like I said in those videos when we talked about our PlayStation stuff, I was still waiting for that one game to make me think, I need to get a PlayStation, and I haven't seen it yet. And then I saw that game, and I was just like, wow, that game looks incredible.
You know what blows me away about that is the fact that, like, a lot of people, like, after Sony's conference was over, the biggest moments everybody focused on was the whole Shenmue 3
and Final Fantasy
7 and Last Guardian. And I'm like, Horizon looked so much better than Last Guardian.
Absolutely.
And what they showed. And, like, no, not saying Last Guardian looked bad, but, like, that Horizon made me want to go out and get a PS4.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Last Guardian just looked kind of fun or whatever. And I just wonder why they didn't focus on that more.
And the mechanics, too, in that game, like, she shot a cannon off this huge beast, then she could use the cannon, fire at the thing, then she could tether the beast to the ground with her arrows.
Everything they showed for that game looked absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
We know nothing about the story, but that game looked absolutely awesome. But Matt, since you stole mine, I'm trying to think if I should have another wow moment.
Just say Fallout 4.
Well,
I mean, that's
sure,
safe as
but
it
I'm
gets.
trying to. I'm going to say. But
Why
Cuphead,
haven't we mentioned Cuphead?
But
Cuphead
Cuphead,
looks
I've known about for a while. I'm excited for that for a while, so it wasn't surprising to me. I mean, I've known about it, so I'm still super hyped for that. But I guess my game of the show would have to be Fallout 4. Looking at everything that's coming out this year, like I've said before, I'm so hyped for Tomb Raider. That game's going to be awesome. But what they showed us about Fallout 4, the way they're changing it, just all the little things, from how no item is useless in the game. You use it to craft, your weapon mods and your armor mods, and the way you can sort of, build your own little village and change all the houses and make caravans come to and from your village, and you'll kind of get attacked. So it's almost like you have to set up traps, almost in a tower defense way. Like, this game is so deep and so big. This is the game I've got marked with a big old X on my calendar, and I'm like, I can't wait till that comes out. But I guess one thing for surprises, though, another wow moment for me would probably be Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, just because I absolutely love both series. And just, I didn't even see that coming. And for them to mash those two games together the way they are, I mean, it's leaning more towards Mario and Luigi versus Paper Mario, but I'm actually super hyped for that as well.
I think some of the great things I saw too was during the Nintendo World Championships, those Mario Maker levels.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But I also forgot to say, remember how in our reactions we saw the news that instead of actually making Knights of the Old Republic 3, they're just making that expansion.
Yeah.
Old Republic.
Yeah. You were so mad.
So guess what I've been playing the last 2 days? Started up again.
Oh no.
Started up the Old Republic and already got a level 14 character.
Wow.
And been busting through it. And I'm actually thinking I might go ahead and get that expansion.
Well, it's free, man. It's free, so it's all
as long
yours.
as you're a subscriber.
Oh, okay.
You have to be a subscriber.
Gotcha.
This game is actually for you. If you guys ever want to try it, it's free to play.
Yeah.
And you can get all the way up to level 50 in free to play mode. I think it's just like you don't have certain things, like you don't have sprint, so your character runs a little bit slower. And then
they lock
like
sprint behind a
items.
paywall.
Yeah.
That's lame.
Jeez.
You can't run unless you pay me a quarter. Okay, pay me another quarter.
You don't walk.
Pay me another
you
quarter.
go like still pretty quick.
You guys both surprised me, I have to say, because Brant, I was absolutely expecting your wow moment to be Fallout, and Matt, I was absolutely expecting your wow moment to be South Park.
I aimed
I
to.
totally
Yeah.
thought for sure.
Park.
I thought Fractured Butthole was gonna be your.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow. I can't
That
believe
probably
You
is.
guys totally shocked me.
I even watched South Park all day today. I think it's because it wasn't a game and it was just like an announcement trailer.
Yeah.
But still, like, yes, announcement-wise, that's my number one.
See, I just
Best name
changed
of
his
the
mind
series.
with that one little comment.
Well, I didn't see gameplay, so it couldn't have blown me away.
Hey, if it worked on you, maybe it'll work on Brant. Brant, buy a Wii U. Brant, buy a Wii U.
I will say, though,
Ghost.
considering Nintendo's kind of lack of Wii U titles, other than Mario Maker, which is definitely worth getting, is Star Fox U and maybe
And Xenoblade
Xenoblade.
Chronicles. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get all three of them though. At least now I have time to go back and play that pretty awesome big library of Wii U games that I haven't got around to playing yet. Like I still got to finish Hyrule Warriors, and I still got to do Bayonetta 2. Like there's a lot of good Wii U games that have come out that still make it a system worth owning. It's just they did make for a light holiday this particular year.
Sure. But, okay, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this show. I know it's kind of all over the place, but with E3 happening, we've been doing all those shows for you guys. All the news is kind of locked down right now just because, all these editors and all these people have been writing for all that stuff for the last few days. And we kind of covered it all in our videos. So today we thought we'd just have more of an open discussion on what we thought and, kind of sort of hit on some of our key moments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And you guys know where you can find us. We're on Facebook. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod. We were actually live tweeting all those different events all the way from Nintendo World Championship on. We're on Google Plus. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, and we're also on the Microsoft MP3 store. So make sure to find us there. And Brant, where can people find you at?
I'm at minus the Brant on Twitter. And to Josh Brandt, follow me on Facebook.
Twitter.
Oh, man, I'm spacing out, dude.
That's okay.
and then minus the Brandt is my PSN name, so add me, and hopefully we can game some.
Awesome. And what about you, Matt?
On Twitter at cpunkrock07, and on Xbox at xmightymat14x. I don't know my Wii U friend code because nobody does.
Well,
but,
no, Wii U is username. Remember, it's not friend code. 3DS is friend code.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you're X Mighty Matt X on that as well, right?
Yeah, well, no, it's not. It's without the X's.
Being all sneaky. Well, you guys can find me on Twitter at JamesPlus12. I'm on Twitch at Jamester0722. I'm also on Xbox at Jamester0722. So make sure to find me in those places. And Wii U as well. So any of those places, make sure to check us out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. And until next time, guys, we are out.
Bye.